All right, everybody, we're going to get started here. Thanks for coming to Rest and Restore Happy Hour. And for tonight, like I said, you'll just want either a soft blanket or a towel on top of your yoga mat just to give you a little extra cushion since we're going to be down on the floor the whole time. And then a yoga block and a strap or some sort of long piece of fabric. All right, let's get going. Go ahead and start laying down on your mat all the way down, but bending your knees. And just set your feet about as wide as your hips or even wider. And from there you can decide if you want your knees to kind of rest in towards each other or if you want to stretch all the way out, or even if you wanted to lay on your side, that would probably be okay. Adjust until you feel satisfied with your position. Maybe tuck your shoulder blades down underneath your back a little bit. Hey, Joan. Just saw you there. Arms could be beside you, they could be kind of out to the side or even over your head. Just find a position that feels really nice for your neck and your shoulders, and you can get your spine to just kind of relax and soften. And let your awareness land with your breath. Noticing its depth, its quality, its sound if it has one. Do your best to try to breathe some expansion down into the back low ribs, into your sides. Still allowing the belly to rise and fall as well. I see a tail. It looks like he's waving at me. That's so cute. Oh, he sat down. Take these first few minutes of class just to decompress a little bit and slow things down. Slowing the body down, slowing the breath down. And our hope is then that our thoughts will also come down a notch. Shift down a gear, less required of us at this time. All of your demands will take a back seat to this practice tonight. You've already carved out this time in your day to be here, so let's give it our all. Notice right now if you feel all of your spine connected to the floor, or if your low back just naturally curls slightly off of your mat. Neither is better or worse, it just is. Many things can be right. Just kind of notice your natural positioning as a baseline. And then reach for your strap or your band, whatever you've got, even a belt would work. And stretch the left leg all the way down to the ground. And with that left leg for now, we're going to keep it fairly intentional. So instead of just kind of letting it lay there, let's pull toes slightly back towards the shin and press your heel slightly forward so it feels like you're standing on the wall that's in front of you. And then instead of taking a straight leg with the strap, what we're going to do is loop it around the bottom of our foot and then bring the knee into about 90 degrees of bend. Same thing with the hip. So you're going to try to make right angles with this right leg, or as close as you can to that, just with eyeballing it. We don't have to get too specific and perfect. And then make sure you have about an equal tail on each side of that strap, and you might want to wrap it around your hands to give yourself just a little bit of grip. And then once again, adjust your shoulders and neck. Make sure everything there feels easeful. And then you're just going to gently kick into that strap and resist with your arms. And we'll start with low level, maybe 10% of what you would estimate to be your maximum. Just enough so that you can feel something come online here in the posterior chain on that right leg. And then let's start to work the knee open just a little bit, maybe just an inch or so. But keep kicking into the strap. If you're holding extra tension around your jaw, your neck, see if you can adjust your arms in a way that would accommodate some relaxation in those spots. Continue to press forward with your right leg as you straighten the right leg just another inch or so. And you might need to give yourself a little more slack on the strap at some point in time. Our goal here isn't to get the leg vertical. We're just going to keep kicking. Let's go one more inch open with the knee. Still not a straight leg position, but we are still kicking. Notice if anything's changed in your back, and can you just kind of find that neutral curvature. And then slowly release that position. Go ahead and let your strap just kind of fall. We'll hang on to it again in a minute, but you're gonna relax off of that and guide your thigh in towards your chest without using your arms. So just notice where your leg stops. And don't overdo this, just kind of let it be pretty chill. Driving your knee or your thigh in towards your trunk. And if you start to feel your pelvis lift off the floor, come out of that shape a little bit until you can keep it grounded. Next step, we're going to interlace the hands on the top of the shin on this first one. And then use your arms to guide your thigh maybe just a touch closer towards your trunk as you reach your left toes away from you, or it could be your heel bone that's reaching away from you. That's your choice. Keep this new position that you have. You'll have a little effort in the hip flexor to do that. So set your arms down. We're going to try to keep our knee in this exact same position that it's in right now. And it's going to want to kick forward on you. So continue to maintain that effort of pulling it inward. And then start to straighten your right leg any amount. So I'm only getting to about 90 degrees before my knee wants to move forward. So I'm just going to stop right here and take a few breaths. Arms are resting by your side. You're still actively drawing thigh towards your chest, but now you're trying to open the back of your knee. I got a few more degrees of opening now, but I'm still hugging in the leg. Let's breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and stretch your right leg all the way out. Once you get your right leg down onto the floor, squeeze your right bum. Feel the right side of your pelvis elevate just a little bit with that glute contraction. And then we'll keep the right leg down. Same thing with the left leg. Find your strap again. I got mine all wrapped up on my right leg. And then find that 90 degrees of bend in both the knee and that left hip. So your thigh bone winds up being pretty vertical. Arrange your strap ends in a way that will allow your shoulders and neck to be free from strain. Try to align your knee approximately over your hip. And then you're going to start to kick forward with your left leg as you intentionally extend your right leg straight on the floor. So now instead of pulling the leg in, we're trying to push it away. The strap won't let us. Really nice. The tendency here is to let that knee creep forward towards our chest. I'm going to try to keep it stacked right over our hip joint. So it probably needs to come more forward than you think. Dorothy, that looks good where you're at. We're going to keep the same action, same position, same intention, but just to open the back of the knee a little more. A little bit more. Keep kicking. Keep pressing gently. No need to overdo it. Just maybe 1 more inch or so. We're not after a complete extension of the knee. And then you can let the strap go once again. Keep bending into your left knee without using your hands. Bring your thigh in towards your chest as close as it'll go. Working to preserve the natural curvature of your spine without lifting your tailbone off the floor. So we don't have to try to just get more there, because that's just going to affect the pelvis, and then we're going to lose the effort of what we're trying to achieve in the hips. Now rescue your leg. Go ahead and interlace your hands on the front of your shin and use your arms as a little support system to get just a little closer with that left leg. But again, we don't need to lift the pelvis, so just a few degrees is all I can get, and then things start to change in my hips and low back. Now you're going to try to keep this new position that you just created. A little bit less space now between thigh and trunk. Set your arms off to the side. Now your hip flexors are going to have to work a little harder to maintain. Start to straighten your leg. If your knee starts to move forward, then stop there and breathe. Keep pulling your knee forward towards your body. Two more breaths. Good. Then you can set that down, stretch your left leg all the way out, squeeze your left bottom. Our next stop is going to be targeting our QL muscle. It's a muscle in your low back. So you're going to stay down on your mat, bend both knees, set your feet as wide as your hips. And this one has several layers to it. So we're going to start with a simple thing, and then we're just going to add on a few layers as we go. Arms should be maybe out to the side a little bit, not like a T, but somewhere between a T and right beside you. So kind of on a diagonal. Keep grounding through both feet nice and strong. And then just lift the left side of your pelvis as you press the right side down. So the left low back will lift off the floor just a tiny bit. Keep your chin just relaxed. You don't have to over tuck, but try not to let your chin lift too much. And then set it down. Repeat that. Drive the right side of your pelvis down. Lift the left side a little bit and stamp both feet into the floor. And then lower it down. We'll do a handful more and just take it at your own pace. It would be hard to do this wrong. Don't worry about alignment. Just focus on that left back hip, left bum, and just the lowest part of your low back on the left side, so not the rib cage. You can hold it up for just a second or two. This is my new go-to, by the way, if I'm feeling a little bit icky in my low back, which is pretty rare, but it happens. All right, so on this next one, we're gonna add in a new layer. So as you get that left side pelvis up, continue to root through the back right side, and then you're gonna tuck your left shoulder into your body a little bit. So it's gonna feel like a little bit of a side bend, and then turn your head to the left as well. And hold it and just breathe. Left side lifting, right side heavy, left shoulder tucking in. And then come back to neutral. Everything returns at once. We'll repeat. The first phase has 3 steps. The second phase is 1 step. So first, press down through the right foot. Lift the left side of your pelvis. Once it's up, tuck your left shoulder in towards your body, and then turn your head to the left. And then let everything go at once, come back to neutral. Last time like that. Left side of the hip lifts, shoulder tucks in towards your body, head turns left. Release to neutral. Now it's going to get really fun. We're going to add on new layers. So make sure your feet are still hip wide, knees are hip wide, pelvis is level, shoulders are level. Arms relaxed out on a diagonal line. Keep right hip heavy, lift the left side of your pelvis and your left low back just a little bit. Tuck the shoulder in, turn your head to the left. Now you're going to lift the right side of the pelvis as well as you squeeze your knees together. So now your pelvis is up, knees are squeezing. Tip the left side of your pelvis towards the floor. Bring your head back to center, shoulders back to center. Now lower the right side of your pelvis. Everything lands at once. You can separate your knees. Let's try it again. Same direction. Left hip lifts, left shoulder tucks, head turns to the left. Squeeze your knees. Lift the right side of your pelvis to level. Start to drop the left side as you bring your left shoulder and head back to neutral. Then lower the right side of the pelvis. Everything lands. We have one more repetition on this side. Separate the knees. Lift the left hip. Tuck the left shoulder. Look left. Squeeze the knees in. Right side of pelvis lifts. Try to level it out. Then tip to the left. Lower the left side first. Then the right. And then we'll bring it all back to center. And then just adjust until you feel really balanced on right to left sides. And pull both legs in towards your body. Cannonball. Option to lift head and shoulders as well. Second option would be to take a little rock side to side. Great. And then you're just going to take a little rest. This could mean anything at all. You could lay flat. You could lay to one side. We're going to repeat that whole sequence on the second side, but we're just going to reset for a moment or two. Hey, Julie. Okay. Find that initial base position. Feet hip width, pelvis level, shoulders even, arms out on a diagonal line. And then the neck. I just want to notice if we're lifting the chin away from the head and overextending, or if we're overly tucking, and try to find that middle ground. And the first phase is simply to lift the right side of the pelvis and a little bit into the low back. Now this side is way different for me. It feels completely different. I'm sure if you were watching me really close, it would look completely different. It's just a completely different experience. So don't be shocked by that if you feel it. And then lower it down. Lift it up and even squeeze your right side glutes to elevate that side as you press the left side down. Feet stay evenly weighted, and then lower. Lift and press the right hip away from the floor. And then lower it down. Reconnect to an even breath cycle. Now we're going to add in the shoulder tuck and the head turn. Get your hip up, a little bit of the low back lifts. Tuck your right shoulder in towards your spine and then turn your head right. Let's hold this for a couple of breaths. Knees stay pretty even, feet stay grounded. And then as you release, try to get everything to move together. We'll go again. Right hip up, left hip down. Tuck the shoulder in. Turn the head to the right and breathe. Let it go, reset. Press down your feet. Get that right hip to lift the back side of the pelvis, the low back, tuck shoulder in, turn head to the right. Settle. Let your breath flow. And then reset. Okay, now we're going to add in the knee squeeze and the rocking and lifting of the pelvis. So the side that comes up first will be the first side to come down again. And in between all of that, we have the knee hug. So lift up, right side. Tuck shoulder in, turn head to the right. Squeeze your knees. They don't have to meet up exactly, but just bring them together. Let your left side lift. Balance out your pelvis. Keep your knees as close as you can. And then tip the right side down. And then set it down. And then let the left side down and reset your head and shoulder. Same thing, lift the right side first. Tuck the right shoulder, turn the head. Squeeze the knees. Lift the left side. Then start to tip to the right like you're rolling a marble off that right side. Let the right side land. Let the left side land. Reset your shoulders. Last round, separate the knees. Lift the right. Tuck the shoulder. Look right with your head. Squeeze the knees. Lift your hips. Balance it out. Now tip towards the right side first, and then let the left side land. Separate your knees and bring your head and shoulder back to a neutral position. And then bring your knees in towards your chest. You can pause and be still, or you can find the rock. The side-to-side rocking feels best for me, but it wouldn't be a wrong thing to do to roll front to back if you prefer that. And then we're going to follow this up with a slightly more active version of this QL series. So you're going to need to come up onto your seat. And because I'm sitting on my blanket, I think I'm just going to shimmy off to my floor. But you could probably, well, I'm going to try it on my blanket and see if it'll work. Scoot yourself towards the back of your mat. And then just sit upright in staff pose with your legs out in front of you. Beautiful. So it's kind of the same idea. We're going to lift one hip and kind of walk forward on our bottom. So I actually did this the other day after class when I was just talking. And then I learned that it's actually a thing. I knew it felt good, I just didn't know why. So it was kind of a fun light bulb moment. You can do whatever you want with your arms. You're going to try to lift your right hip without leaning too far to the right, but it's okay if you do. You'll feel that right shoulder kind of drop down to help, and then pull your right hip forward of your left hip. So your right foot's going to move out in front, and then set it down. Then lift your left hip. Glide your left heel forward and set it down. So one leg is always trying to get ahead of the other leg. Lift and reach, set it down. Lift, reach, set it down. Nice and slow, keep traveling up your mat. Think of driving your heels straight forward of your hip and really reaching before you decide to set it down. And then once you reach the top of your mat, you're going to repeat that same series, but going backwards. Lift, drag it back, set it down. Lift, drag it back and set it down. All the way back. Take your time. There's no rush. I like super slow. Giving my body time to experience that kind of in-between zone. Getting close here. Great. And then once you've finished that series, you can plop yourself back into the middle of your mat, however you want to get there, and you're going to come back down to the floor. You can't be there, buddy. You can be right over here. Okay? Lay down. Have your strap and your block nearby, please. And then sit up like you would for bridge pose, but we're not going to go anywhere just yet. You're going to bring your hands into this position where it looks like you have an L between the inner index finger and your thumb, both hands. And then face your thumb tips towards each other. Angle your hands out slightly and take that little hook in between your finger and your thumb and lay it right on top where your thigh meets your pelvis. So right at your hip crease. And then press straight forward against your thighs. Like you're trying to push your thighs away from your chest and lengthen the space between your pelvis and your ribs. Now, depending on how long your arms are, this could be more intense. You're essentially giving your back traction as you do this. There's a really great way to do this with a partner that I could show you sometime if you're interested. You have to be a little gentle with it, but it feels pretty good. Let's take just a couple more breaths. The great thing about this is you can control how much pressure you're giving yourself. And then let's just rest the arms, separate your feet just a little bit wider, and let your knees travel inward to touch. Okay, next up you're going to need your yoga block, or something about the size of a yoga block, with a bit of firmness to it. Bring your feet about hip wide again, separate your knees, tuck your tailbone up towards the sky so your low back lengthens down into the ground. Make an imprint there, and then slowly rise your pelvis. Take your yoga block and set it underneath your sacrum. Please be sure it doesn't go into your low back curve. It needs to be nice and low, just like we've done before. And you can decide which direction that block needs to sit on underneath your body. And then give that block the entire weight of your pelvis. And then stretch your right leg out any amount. It could go just a few degrees. It could go all the way out. And then we're going to just try some really gentle isometrics here. So first, give your right glutes a little squeeze. And really reach your right heel away from you. And then relax off the glutes and let your toes roll out just a little bit on that right foot. So it feels like your right hip's getting a little heavier and lazier. Now point your toes straight forward of your ankle. Fire the right glutes again. Make your leg just a little longer. Heel can stay down. Now relax. It's okay for the toes to roll out a little bit again. And let's do that contract, relax 3 more times. I'll let you decide how much time you spend in each. Soft shoulders, easeful breath. Possibly heading into your 3rd round of contract, relax. If you've done more than that, it's great. If you're not quite there yet, no sweat. And then if this feels nice, you can just stay right here. Other option would be to lift the left leg back up, like we did earlier. And you can either hold your leg, you can hold behind, you could use your strap so that you have just a little more reach. As far as the right leg, it can be super chill and relaxed, or it can be actively reaching away from you with a little bit of glute engagement. You usually can't go wrong with an isometric muscular contraction like we're doing right now and like we just did with the glutes. It's always pretty safe to do. There's no weight involved. We're not moving the joint. It's generally a really good way to communicate strength and support into the hips. Eyes can close here. Letting the weight of your body rest peacefully into your support system underneath you. And then the first phase to release this would be just to let your left foot find the floor again. Rebend your right leg. Try to curl your tailbone up between your inner thighs. Lengthen your low back. Push into the floor with your feet. Rise your hips. Take the block out for a moment. Set it down off to the side. And release your spine to the floor segmentally. And then just receive those neutral spine curves again. Let your body find its way back home. Okay, let's move on to the other side. We're going to use our block again, remembering those same kind of instructions to get up. We're using the glutes to help assist with the hip raise. I'm trying to stretch our tailbone towards the backs of our knees. Once you land, you'll stretch the left leg out any amount. It doesn't go all the way straight, just kind of pause where you feel good sensation. And we'll take 5 rounds at least, maybe more, of contract relax on your own time. I like to squeeze for, I don't know, 2 to 3 seconds, maybe a little longer. And for that one, I like to point my toe and then let it go slack and just relax your foot and see what happens. As you're doing this, notice where you're sensing that expansion with your breath. If it's still coming up into your chest or shoulders, see if you can move that energy down a little lower in the trunk and also out to the sides and into your back so that we're not breathing so high. After you've done your contract, relax, then you can just relax. An option again would be to draw this bent leg in towards your body. With or without your strap. Front of the leg, back of the leg, doesn't really matter. Moving your attention inward. Following your thoughts casually, not as a participant, but as the watcher. Keeping our mind occupied with the sensations of our body. To ease out, slowly bring your right foot to your mat. Find the floor with your left foot. Guide your hips up off of the block. Continue to tuck under to stretch the low back out again. In the other direction, almost like you're trying to flex your spine like cat pose. And then lower down, one segment at a time. Once your sacrum meets the floor, you're just gonna kind of scrub, I guess is the best word I can come up with. Scrub on the back of your sacrum as you wag your hips from side to side. Think of drawing the right hip up towards the right ribs, like you have a little sassy hip, and then to the left. And I'm doing this fairly quickly, so it doesn't have to be like that super slow motion. I'm almost like doing a little hip dance. And then pause, set your feet nice and wide again, knees can come together. And then let's adjust back to a hip wide stance with the feet. Take both legs up off the floor as if you were going to tuck your knees, both of them, in towards your trunk. Take your hands onto your knees. Send your right leg forward as you draw your left leg a little closer. So you're just kind of splitting your legs. And then switch. Just a really easy leg scissor. This next time as you scissor, pull your legs apart and then swirl them around in opposite directions. And then they're going to scissor back together. Keep this leg scissor circle going. This one can get just a little bit confusing with the mind. So if you get a little lost, just come back to the scissor. It's a scissor and a circle. And then eventually, we're going to reverse that scissor circle. So if one leg was moving clockwise, then it's going to go in the reverse motion. One leg clockwise, other counterclockwise, and they meet in the middle. Yeah, good. Wonderful. That's it for that one. You can take your hips and feet back down. Cross your right leg. Let's actually go left. Let's go left leg over the right. So you're crossing the thighs, fairly close. And then let's lift the hips up and shift them a little over towards the left side. I use my block on this. You can decide if you want that or not. You're going to let your legs now twist over towards the right side, and I'm going to use my block as a kickstand for just a little bit more of a subtle twist and not such a deep one. And then your arms can just kind of fan out, allowing the left rib cage to stay heavy, left shoulder relaxed. You could turn your head towards your left thumb if you'd like, and then lay your eyes closed. If you continue to watch your breath, it can serve as a tether to the moment that you're in. Be connected. Ride the wave of your breath. And before we come out of the rotation, let's go ahead and uncross the legs. Your left leg can lead you back to that neutral, balanced position on the floor. And then we'll just go ahead and switch sides. Right leg
Cross it over, hips nudge a little right. If you're using your block, just make sure it's over to the left for you. And then lay your right shoulder down, right ribs heavy, head can turn to the right if that feels all right. Take it slow. Let your right leg uncross and let it lead you back. And then sort out any last positions or movements that you feel like you'd like to explore before you choose a position to rest in. That cannonball shape, familiar, soothing, maybe some sort of a happy baby. Anything goes. If you're ready just to stretch out to your final rest, that's where we're headed. And then let yourself just check out for a little bit. Invite surrender to your physical body, space in your mental body, contentment with that emotional layer. Let your breath just flow.
Bring your attention to the points of contact between your body and your blanket or your mat or your floor. Notice how your exhales can bring your attention to those spaces just a bit more as you let go, release, be free. Continue to breathe softly. Keep it simple. Trust in your body's wisdom and the breathing. Expand outwardly just a bit more through your rib cage and the sides, into your lower back. And you can start to create your own awakening cycle, physically moving your body in any way that appeals to you. I'd like to thank you for showing up to do this class for yourself, for being a member of this community, for receiving what I am delivering. Now might be a nice time to see what comes up for you in terms of an affirmation or some sort of intention that could be worthy of exploring as you move forward tonight, tomorrow. What kind of energy are you hoping to cultivate in your life? What kind of energy do you feel like you are a little bit low on? Maybe you could stockpile some of that, create a reserve. Create that reserve so that we can not only use it for our own well-being, but so that we might also gift it to others when they're low. Thanks for being here, everyone. Namaste.